And now I would like to invite the participants in our next and last panel, the Southern Tier Soft Lending Program, welcoming international business investment and in the clean energy sector. I am the moderator. I'm not taking a seat there. I would like to save some time because we'll have a very nice lunch with a musical performance. And to go into the Southern Tier Soft Lending Program, I'll just say a few words. This is a newly launched program with the possibility of two universities, Binghamton and Cornell, working together to help us bring foreign companies, both startups and scale-ups, to come to the Southern Tier, invest here, create jobs, and from an economic development impact, that would be great, but also provide opportunities for engaged learning for students and for many other activities. The program has been just launched. In January, we got the grant, a federal grant from the Economic Development Administration, $1.6 million, to work on this program and create all the necessary ecosystem and infrastructure so that we can help foreign companies come here, especially in the clean energy sector, and actually build this bigger cluster within the clean energy sector and battery manufacturing eventually. At least we are targeting this type of foreign companies, but also companies from the sectors of sustainable agriculture and advanced manufacturing. And I would like here to pledge to everybody who is in the audience and who has the capacity to help us create a Southern Tier support network, soft lending support network. If we need lawyers, if we need bankers to help these companies learn how to come to the US in the Southern Tier and establish their presence, find their customers, grow here in our region and beyond, then we need your partnership to do this together. And that's about the soft lending program. We work together, Binghamton, Cornell, and many other partners from the area who helped us develop this program and also get the grant from the federal government. Now I would like to introduce to you, I don't know in which order, let me look around. Okay, I have a showcase of one of the companies, startups at the Koffman Southern Tier Incubator, which is the home actually for the soft lending program. And the hood on campus would be the home or the base for the scale-up companies, foreign companies that would come to the area. Now we have Mike Mahan from Cleanwatts. And Cleanwatts is just enrolling in the soft lending program. The company is from Portugal. They have been here working within the Koffman Southern Tier Incubator, the Clean Energy Incubator. Mike Jagielski, sitting next to Mike. The other Mike has been mentoring this company, and they have some progress. And I invited Mike Mahan to make a short presentation about their company and how they have been helped, like the assistance that they have been given from the Koffman Incubator. And then, of course, I'll ask Mike Jagielski to, and I'm pronouncing his name the way it should be pronounced in Poland. It's Jagielski, not Jagielski, as everybody calls him. So Mike will outline what type of services they provide to their companies, startups. And then Luis is here, who will tell us how he has already been engaged with Cleanwatts and how Cleanwatts is engaged in this electrification project in Ithaca. And then it would be my honor to introduce to you David Dean, who is, as I mentioned, His Excellency is with the equivalent of a Consul General of Taiwan in New York. He's the director of the Trade and Investment Agency in New York, and he will talk about a recent cooperation agreement that was signed up between Taiwan and the United States for cooperation in semiconductor, energy storage, and many other areas. Okay, thank you. So let's start with Mike.
So first of all, I'd like to say it's a delight to be here. Came out from the West Coast and traveled to this part of the world. I've never been to the upstate Southern Tier, and it's been a pleasure working with the Koffman and Michael and Elena, Michael and Emma, and now getting to know Elena. So it's pretty exciting for us. A company in Portugal that is looking to expand. Just to give you a little background, Cleanwatts started as a software company about 12 years ago, and we have expanded into building energy communities. So what you hear from Luis about Ithaca is a model for cities, I believe, all around the world. We're doing right now over 200 communities in Portugal and Europe. It's exploding. The need for energy communities, or RECs as they call them in Europe, is a driving force in creating decarbonization, as Luis said, but also democratization. So in these lower income communities, energy now is so expensive that people have to choose sometimes between heating their home or putting food on their table, and that's ridiculous. So our mission and goal is to help with software, provide a solution that enables the hardware assets that we've heard about today be utilized to distribute the energy, not only from energy storage, but solar and other assets. So how do we do that? Well, we do that with a software solution that's very comprehensive, and it does things like we're showing here. Instead of just developing solar for a portion of the building that you need for self-consumption to lower your demand charges and help power your building during the times you're occupying it and using it, why not expand it and build a larger solar facility and use that in the community? In this way, business can help communities lower their energy rates and decarbonize. And this is something that needs to be done more and more. So I know everybody's seen these large utility scale solar plants. Those are great, but we also need to try to do these in the local areas and communities, because we can offset the cost directly to those community members, and we can help decarbonize, as Luis showed, the footprint, because 40% of the energy's being consumed to heat homes and buildings. And this is one way we can do it. In a lot of areas, you can't put solar on your building, but you could borrow it for the community from other solar installations like this. And by the way, this is how we're doing it in Portugal, in Italy, and other places. Now, one of the things we need is a framework with regulation and policy. We not only need the communities to embrace it, but the government has to help us do that. Right now, one of the initiatives that is in the middle of being formed is FERC 2222, which will enable us to start to monetize small energy communities and assets for demand generation and distribution. The limitation's been the grid has been restricted, and you couldn't, as a small user or generator, distribute energy back into the grid unless you did it back through your utility, and that's going to be changed. And New York is leading the way with California in implementing this change. So enough about Cleanwatts. What I would like to talk about is this ecosystem that everybody is mentioning. 1983, I started with General Electric in their battery business department, and I did 3 battery startups over the years in the US. And I can tell you, one of the most exciting things I've seen in all my years is this campus and this center of excellence and the deployment of a technology lab with the potential to scale manufacturing. One of my companies took a Department of Energy technology for the Star Wars, the capacitor that would store the energy, power the lasers, and shoot the missiles out of the sky. And what we basically got was a license. We had very little help scaling a technology that had been proven. We had no money. We had to go out and raise our own. And we had to go get Sony Factory Automation to help us scale the facility. And what's happening here and what's happening up the street with IM3 and C4 is very exciting. That ecosystem enables me to say, this is the best place for Cleanwatts to land and to start our business. We're a software company. We can go anywhere. But this place, with these people, like Michael and others that help us, and Emma and Elena, you don't find that in very many places with an ecosystem that can help, such as the university. So I'm just going to go through. I put together this wheel, and the different panels have talked about the ecosystem. So let me explain to you what I think an ecosystem looks like here and why it's important. So I mentioned FERC 2222, government policy, the regulatory framework and infrastructure has to be supportive. If you don't have that, you're missing a critical part of the ecosystem, and you have it in New York. Funding and finance. New York is the capital of venture capital funding of the world. Everybody follows what happens in New York, in Manhattan. So you definitely have a lot of money in this state. Culture. You've got a great culture. You have hardworking people, and you have diversity and a demographic that I think is very rich and powerful, and people are what drive success. The mentors and advisors. I can't say enough about Michael and the Koffman. It's been wonderful not only working with him, but the other members of the incubator and how we collaborate and how we talk. So I encourage anyone that's thinking about getting involved in an incubator to reach out, because this is a fabulous incubator. There's lots of incubators in New York. We looked at some in Manhattan and downtown in the city, but it's nothing like what's happening here. The university and the catalysts here, I think, speak for themselves, and I've already talked about what's happening with this innovation center and the lab and what's going to be happening with advanced manufacturing. and the students. We're going to be working with the soft landing program both at Binghamton and at Cornell. And I look forward to working with the faculty and the students to scale in this ecosystem so that they want to stay here. They want to go to work for Cleanwatts and some of the other companies, and they want to help us drive a decarbonization and a better planet. The workforce, as the other panelists have talked about, is very deep and willing to go to work here. In some of the places, people would rather be unemployed. I don't think that's the case here. They're looking for good jobs. I talked to a gentleman last night who said, you know, this is a place he's lived his whole life, and the people love to work. They're looking for good jobs. Last but not least is the community engagement. I was delighted to meet Luis and learn about Ithaca, because this is a pioneering program. This is going to be the model. Other cities, communities will follow. And you have it right in your backyard, and it's part of this whole ecosystem. So with that, I think I've said enough. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. When we start to talk about what is an incubator, and I'll go back to it, incubator is nothing more. It's not a building. It's people. People helping people, right? And our incubator, when we say we differentiate ourselves from any other incubator in New York State, or even in the country, I'm dead serious about that. We're a no-nonsense incubator. I tell every company that joins, you want a friend, get a dog. Right? But if you want to grow and your business really wants to move forward, hey, no-nonsense approach. We make things happen. So the thing I like to kind of tout about what we do is we start very simple, right? What's your TRL? What's your technology readiness level? So this was invented by the Apollo project, right, with NASA to get a numerical rating of where you are technically. And it's great, right? I don't want science projects. If you want to do science projects, great, go to a university, do science projects. We look at what's called CRL, commercialization readiness, right? Is this thing really ready for prime time? Are we ready to create a business? Can we generate customers? Is there cash flow involved? So we take a real world approach. We try to avoid the academic side. However, it's very important that we do go through like an I-Core training program. And I got to tell you, stuff that Per and Olga have built, unbelievable, right? We have the best regional program in the United States. And we go up against anybody. I have absolutely no doubts, and we will crush them. That's how good our people are, right? I talk about world-class staff. My team's world-class staff. I couldn't have asked for a better staff. And what do? Last year, we went from, 19 companies, we're at 42 clean energy companies. We raised $115 million in capital last year. Thanks to Shailesh, probably 88 of that mil. Thank you, Shailesh. But it's a testament to doing business maybe a little bit of a different way. And our incubator, we just try to network as many people as possible together, and it gets us connected to wonderful people like Luis. I can't stress how many companies I'm pushing down Luis's way. And Luis is giving us the time and giving our companies the time to vet the companies and see what works, what doesn't work. So we're truly grateful, Luis, for your time. I don't know, I have no idea how the hell you do this. I mean, it's just too much. But with that, I'd like to turn this over to Luis.
I don't know, man. It's such a pleasure to be here. Honestly, when I moved to Ithaca, I had no idea what was going on here. I mean, I've been discovering slowly, what the Southern Tier actually is. Because if you look at the demographic information, yeah, they're talking about sometimes poverty, sometimes economic depression, a number of things. And a lot of the time when they talk about investment, they focus on New York City. But then when I moved here, I started looking, at things closely and trying to see what was happening. Universities like Binghamton, Cornell University, we're talking about, startups that are changing the world. We're talking about incubators that, don't owe anything to the incubators in California. So suddenly I started realizing that, the Southern Tier might be, at the core of the actual transformation that is happening in the entire planet. We have one of the leading, energy storage companies, and it's part of the future. We have investors willing to put money into the Southern Tier. And it's just wonderful to be, in Ithaca right now and to have the political backing to do a program like the one we have. Because to be honest, the mayor could have said no, the city council could have said no, the community could have opposed. But they're willing to do this, they're willing to try. And first I thought it was going to be just Ithaca, but now it turns out that it's all the way down here. And a lot of the change begins here, and sometimes we get the opportunity to implement it first in Ithaca. So meeting Michael, for example, and Cleanwatts has been a wonderful experience because we know where we are going, the direction that we're going, and we are really taking this transformation very seriously. And we're anticipating that we're going to have to invest a ton of money in infrastructure, otherwise, once again, the city may catch fire. But we really need to start looking at the future. And in 2030, for example, the city is going to have, we are lucky, we're going to have deployed a large number of distributed energy resources. We're going to have a series of interconnected microgrids. We're going to have a series of grid interacting buildings and electric vehicles. So we need a way of managing all of these energy assets. And not only that, we need to have a way of balancing energy because it's no longer going to be about demand, it's going to be about supply of energy. So we need to have a way of monitoring all this. And I've been looking for that. I've been looking for my virtual power plant software for a while. And then I met Michael, and it's your fault that I met them. And it was cool because we started talking, and it's one of those that you click immediately, you start talking about what do you have, and they're like, oh man, let's go swim naked. It was one of those moments that, I hope we don't have to do that, but still, it was one of those moments that you see, this works. So we started developing something, and she's asking me to shut up. So I'll do that now, but thank you very much, and Michael, that's cool, man.
Hi, everyone. First of all, I thank you for the organizer invite me here to attend this event. In fact, I have a lot of input today. I think it will be very helpful for my future work. So today I will say something, introduce my office as well as the supply chain cooperation on clean energy between Taiwan and New York. Our office is under the Ministry of Economies of Taiwan. So it's very obviously our mission is to enhance bilateral economic trade investment as well as the innovative technology partnership between Taiwan and northeastern US. Our service area include New York, Tri-State, Pennsylvania, and Great Boston area. Today, I will mainly focus my works on the supply chain cooperation, especially on clean energy and the battery storage. The other thing, such as outsourcing to Taiwan, but if you are interested, you can contact our office too. But today, I will focus on supply chain cooperation. So Taiwan at a glance. So where is Taiwan? In fact, Taiwan is here. It's north is South Korea, is Japan. On our left side, China, and the south is Asia. Is I don't know this. It's over here. So we are in the center of East Asia. So that means if you set up an office in Taiwan, you can serve the whole area. So on the right bottom side, there's our population. Our population is more than New York. However, our area is much smaller. GDP, of course, New York State is greater. So during COVID-19, we have a very good, excellent COVID-19 prevention and control. So that means if you want to buy something buy some parts or buy some materials, Taiwan can continue to manufacture. We do not lock up our city or lock up our factory during the COVID. Even last May and June is a very worst time for us, but we do not lock down our city. So that means we can still to support the global supply chain. So of course, if we can support the global supply chain, that means our income growth will be very high. Every economic indicator shows very good results. So from this chart, we can see the Taiwan's primary export to the United States. In 2021, our export increased 30%. From this chart, you can see Taiwan can manufacture so many things. electronic components, information communication and audio-video products, basic metal and articles, machinery, plasticals, chemicals, mineral products, optical products, vehicles, and so on. So I use this chart to tell you like Taiwan have a lot of supply chain ecosystem. So of course, for the climate change policy we have, but I have to admit that we're not doing so good. Such as we want our renewable energy is 20% of total power generated by 2025. We might be miss the target. But even though we are developing solar power and offshore wind power at our full strength, and our private sector, you know, they are all global company now, multi-billion funding. Of course, they must have some climate change promise. So then, such as TSMC, Delta, Acer, all the companies, big company, then are join the I-100 and pray to use 100 renewable energy by 2050. So right now I want to tell a little about supply chain cooperation between China and US. So as I say, Taiwan is an ICT company. We are very strong here in this. So especially in IC design, we are almost 20% of the global capacity. Foundry is 75%, semiconductor 56%, and panel is 16%. And a lot of Taiwanese big company are famous. I think the most famous for you may be the TSMC. So notebook, we are number one. Cable modem, we are number one. So that means our ICT advantage of Taiwan's ICT industry. So under this both the Taiwanese government and the US government, we have made in mind that because Taiwan is very strong, so that one country cannot be allowed to dominate. So that's why the US government contact with our government like to see for some region, can we have some supply chain shifted to here? So in fact, during the Trump administration, we have a US Taiwan economic prosperity partnership dialogue, and it continued to the Biden administration. So we are talking about supply resilience, especially semiconductor, global chaos, clean energy, and in the future we will talk about digital economy and 5G. So this under the dialogue, the Department of Secretary and our Ministry of Economy as well. So we announced that we have a framework to do so. It's a technology trade and investment collaboration. So in order to strengthen critical supply chains. So it's announced only last December. So under this framework, we are doing a lot of things with the Department of Commerce. So this is a 4 topic that we think might be interesting for both parts. First of all is semiconductors. I think semiconductors is very obviously that I think the TSMC has answered a call from the US government. So they announced it's a $12 billion investment in Arizona. You must know it's not only TSMC investing in Arizona, but it is the whole ecosystem we invest there, including chemistry industry, including maybe air pollution or everything industry have related to TSMC will come there. For the communication and 5G, in fact, we want to develop there's a system called the Open RAN. So we want to develop an Open RAN system with United States. Green energy, of course, is today's topic. I will explain later. And electric vehicle industry. We have a case for this later. This is one of the cases in good vehicles, electric vehicle. In fact, Tesla had 29 representative suppliers in Taiwan, including car, electronics, motors, battery, car bodies, and charging systems. 75% of Tesla suppliers are from Taiwan. Why choose Taiwan? Because our IP profession is very good. Our government will not persuade our company to steal IP from the other country. And right now I want to talk a little about green energy cooperation. In fact, our office, even right now, we are still identifying what we can do to promote green energy cooperation between China and New York. So today I have a lot of inputs. So first is I want to say about the Select USA. In fact, we all know that in the northeastern, in New York, we are developing renewable energy. So Select USA, your embassy in Taiwan, we call it the American Institute in Taiwan, we are trying to organize renewable energy and a battery storage delegation to here. So we are trying to contact local counterparts to make this come true. The other thing is offshore wind power. Offshore wind power, Taiwan is developing offshore wind power and the solar power and energy storage. I will talk later. So last year, because right now Taiwan is doing one policy, that is localization of manufacturing in Taiwan. So we think right now New York State is doing the same thing. So maybe we can have some workshop like this year we have with Rhode Island and New Jersey that will change how we do the localization of manufacturing in New York or in Taiwan. So this is later this year we will consider to organize another event, regarding offshore wind power. Regarding solar power, we all know the U.S. policy. But in fact, in Taiwan, with our solar cell and module production capacity ranking second in the world, but due to the U.S. want to build its own supply chain, so it's not so easy to export here. However, maybe we can cooperate to explore the Indo-Pacific energy market. Especially right now, ABI knows the federal government, they have a policy that's the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework. Taiwanese companies have a lot of presence in the Southeast countries and made in China. So if we can cooperate on this, it will be a win-win strategy. For the energy storage, Taiwan is developing energy storage, but I must confess that we are still developing. We are not so good at energy storage. So each country needs has its own supply chain. So that's why our government is trying our best to have a energy storage supply chain in Taiwan. And on the other hand, if you set up an office in Taiwan with our joint effort, we can explore the Indo-Pacific energy storage market. In addition to that, in fact, the Chinese companies are very interested to participate in the ecosystem of energy storage industry in New York. As you can know, like Taiwanese companies are very good at manufacturing at the comparable low cost. We are not the lowest. If you want to find the lowest cost, you must be to some bigger country. That's not Taiwan. Taiwan, we are a country respect the IP, and we have a comparable low cost, but we are not the lowest. So under this kind of system, you can have a very sustainable relation with Taiwan. If you have a business relation with Taiwan, it's very sustainable. So at last, I will say that in fact Taiwan is a trusted partner for the United States because we share democratic values. We support for fair trade system. And in fact, the combination of a made in Taiwan and American brains and technology allows for partnerships that are truly mutually beneficial. So this last page I think is very important. Like, if you are interested in doing business with Taiwan, please don't hesitate to contact our office. I think it's very important because after you see so many presentations regarding Taiwan, the most important thing that if we have anything you want to do with Taiwan, you can contact our office. Thank you very much.